YouTube. This is the Copernicus, and you're watching my Let's Play of the Direwolf20 mod pack, Season 2. Before we get started today, I just want to do a little housekeeping with you guys. I know that my keyboard has been super loud in the past, episodes. That should be remedied now. I bought an entirely new keyboard and put some O-rings on the keys, so you'll just hear the faintest little click instead of, or the faintest little tap instead of those loud clicky keys that you did before. So hopefully that improves some things. I'm also using some new recording software. I'll be uploading at 60 FPS instead of 30. So just keep that in mind if that interests you guys at all. But yeah, let's get on with the episode. So last time we talked about upgrading our energy production, and I did a little bit here. I had a few extra magnetic dynamos with some augments in them, and I have a little Steve's Factory Manager set up here just to turn them off when the energy cell is full. But that won't quite do us for very long, and I figured it was time to upgrade a bit. We're going to be making a big reactor from big reactors today. Basically, the mod adds these multi-block structures that you feed with yellorium, and you get energy out of them. So there's a bunch of different designs, and everyone will argue about which is the best. I've grown accustomed to this design here, and I'll show you exactly how to build it. We'll tear this down and build that actual reactor when we get to that. But just so you know, I know there's probably more efficient ways to do this. This is just what I use, so bear that in mind when we're going at this. And I should have a good majority of the materials already. I kind of knew what I would need. If we just search big reactors, got a bunch of this, a bunch of this, a whole bunch of all the things. Need that too, need that. I'll probably need more reactor casings. Well, we'll just start with what we've got right now so far. And actually, I'm not even going to exchange this with the resonant exchanger. So all these stone bricks you see right here, I'm going to be replacing with reactor casings. These have to form the outside of the structure, but you can also put in reactor glass, which I will be doing too, which I made a bunch of just because it looks cool. There's that. Fill this in. And these aren't too expensive, by the way. These are made out of a lot of graphite, iron, and yellorium. And graphite is just smelting coal or charcoal, I think. So it's pretty cheap to make these. Honestly, you just want to make sure you have a good supply of yellorium before you attempt to make one of these, because they can suck quite a bit of yellorium. But once you have one, you can pretty much power, our quarry or whatever, pretty much infinitely, because you'll pretty much get the yellorium you need to power it back when you're powering the device. These things also need to be passively cooled. There's a whole bunch of different materials you can use to cool these guys. In our case, we're going to be using liquid resonant ender. It's one of the better coolants. There's also cryothium. I think that one's a little bit better, but for how much more expensive, well, I wouldn't say expensive, but enderium, liquid ender is just obviously liquid ender pearl, so it's pretty cheap in that regard. Yep, I'm going to do more of these. Not too much more though. I don't know, probably like 30. I'll get that cooking. There we go. But yeah, we're going to be using liquid ender for ours instead of cryothium, even though it's slightly better in performance. Just wasn't worth it to me. We have a lot of supply of ender pearls in the end, so just went with that for now. We're going to put in reactor glass along the outside because it looks awesome. I think I'm going to use my builder's wand for this. Beautiful. I accidentally right-clicked it there. Another cool thing about these is when you right-click them, it will tell you if it can complete it, and if it can't, why it can't. You can see there, I accidentally clicked it again. Just telling me I need reactor control rods and all this stuff. So even if you don't know how to build one at all, it kind of teaches you. Now these are the graphite blocks. These help dissipate heat from the fuel rods. So these fuel rods get full of fuel and they get hot, and what cools them is the graphite blocks. It takes heat from the fuel rod and disperses it, and also the liquid Enderium that we're going to be putting in here. I keep saying liquid Enderium, but it's not really liquid Enderium. It's resonant ender, I believe. Yeah, it's resonant ender. Enderium is the more expensive stuff. Can pretty much take these down. There's that. Now we put these fuel rods. I'm pretty sure they have to go all the way from the top to the bottom, no matter how many you put or where you put them. So that's what I'm doing. And 5 more should get us there. Perfect. And then capping those off, you need reactor control rods, which can kind of configure the reactors, the fuel rods, I mean. You can insert them a certain amount, and I'll explain that later. Right now we'll just finish building it. Do I want glass on the top? I think I want reactor casings here, and maybe glass around the outside. That sounds cool to me, especially since we have glass. There's that. And we're going to need a few other things. So you need a power tap. That's what gets you your energy out. So that's one thing we're going to need for sure. And I think I'm going to put this kind of at this corner. Actually, so I'm probably going to wind up having energy storage somewhere here too. So I think I'm going to have my energy storage on this side if I ever build like a large energy storage unit. So I'm going to put my power tap there. It should let me draw from the bottom, yep. And then we have these access ports which let us insert yellorium, and it exports the waste. So those, I didn't even think about the one thing you actually need is a controller. Where is it? Reactor controller. There we go. I'm gonna need some more. I might need more glass. I don't know. The controller is just manually turning it on and off. I'll put that right in the center there. Now these guys, I think I'll put them there. Seems like a decent spot. Now right now both of those are for putting in yellorium. We want to whack one of them with a wrench, and that one is now exporting the waste. There we go. It's in outlet mode. Okay, I think that's all we need for that. We also have a reactor redstone port, which can let us turn on and off our reactor with a redstone signal. that guy is going to be right here, I think. Make sure we can access him. Hopefully you don't have to put this guy. I don't know if I can make this be able to... I think my problem here... Yeah, there's no access on the bottom. It has to be one of the sides. So for that, we'll... Let me think. We'll put it right here. And then if I need to use redstone, I can go straight through the floor here. So that should work out just fine. Unfortunate we can't put it on the floor of it, but it happens. And I think that should be our reactor. Yep, there you go. So that is a finished reactor right there. We don't have the resonant ender in. I'll show you how I'm going to do that quickly. But I'll probably do that off camera since it takes a little while. I'll need a bucket. Hope you guys like the design of this room, by the way. Don't usually design things to look pretty, but I figured the reactor room could use a little fanciness. So you just take it and you just place it on the top block and let it flow down, and that will cool it. So I'm going to go and finish off this, putting this resonant ender in the reactor, and I'll be right back. Alright guys, so there it is. Took 16 buckets to totally fill it up. You can see it's all flowing down to the bottom there, and our reactor is formed again. It's offline right now, not doing anything, which is good. So let's load it up, I guess. So you can pipe things in, which we're going to do to this reactor part, but I'm going to fill it up by hand first because it eats away at the fuel. You can see it just took a stack there, almost a whole nother stack, just to fill up those fuel rods. And it actually renders. You can kind of see a tiny strip of yellow there in that fuel rod where my cursor is, but you can actually see it fill up with the yellorium. So now it is ready to go. You can see here the fuel is totally full, and it is ready to rock. I'm going to activate this for just a couple seconds just so you guys can kind of see what's going on, and then I'll deactivate it, and then I'll get some sort of power system set up. What I think I'm going to do is make capacitor banks. I'm not entirely sure if I want to do it that way or not, because the nice thing about capacitor banks is they can hold a lot, but they're kind of a nuisance to craft. So what the cool thing about vibrant capacitor banks, like I said, they can store a lot, and they also form multi-blocks, right? So like if I put a bunch of these capacitor banks next to each other, they'll form one power cell, and the more you put together, the more you can input and output. The energy cells do not have that ability. You can kind of make them into, you know, one solid unit by having like a block of them all flow into one energy cell and have that one output, but that doesn't increase, you know, how much you can put into the cell or take out at once. So that's the only problem I have with that. So I think what I might do is bite the bullet and make a bunch of these. There's a bunch of different levels, by the way. The regular, let's see, I guess there's the regular capacitor bank here, or there's the basic one that holds 1,000,000, and then there's the regular capacitor bank that holds 5 million, and the vibrant capacitor bank holds 25 million. Each of those requires an emerald. Yikes. And a bunch of vibrant alloys, so that'll be fun to craft. Let's check on our emerald situation. 26. That might be another thing we have to look into, is to get more emeralds, and that's always a kind of a fun build to do, because the way you get emeralds is, or one way you get emeralds at least, is kind of fun and interesting. I'll leave it at that. But yeah, let's fire this guy up. So you can see there the heat is rising rapidly. And you want it to get hot because that generates more energy. Don't want to get too hot though, or else, you know, I think it'll stop running after it gets too hot. We are generating, what, 11,000 about? Looks like it's stabilizing right around 11,527-ish RF per tick. And you can see there when I deactivate it, it still generates heat because that's the cooldown, but it goes down very quickly. So you can see there we generated, what, 6 million RF there. So it's very, 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 very fast. We'll see how many ingots we used. Looks like we didn't use a single one yet. So that wasn't even 1 ingot's worth. Or else this would have gone down to 63. Or maybe it only does it when it's full. But either way, didn't use a lot of power. Used 0.7% of how much it had in its internal buffer. So doing pretty good, I'd say. So, like I said, I'm going to close this up. Gotta love drawbridges. So cool. So yeah, I can lock this up, and all I'm going to do now is craft and craft and craft and craft and make a bunch of vibrant capacitor banks. And I'll probably show you guys a new type of energy line to get all that power out at once, because, well, let's see here. The highest tier energy conduit can do 20,000. I guess that's enough for now. Yeah, we'll probably use that. But there's also one from thermal expansion that can transfer infinite amounts of energy, but is quite pricey. So we'll probably stick with this. Yeah, the enhanced energy conduits can't handle that. So I'll be back after a bunch of crafting. See you guys in a minute. Alright guys, so I went ahead and made 8 vibrant capacitor banks. These things took a heck of a lot to craft. I wound up auto crafting them, and it still just took forever. I even made a second furnace here. Actually, I've made a third since then, but, or no, yeah, 2. This is some of them, and I put some of the other patterns in here just so I could work on like vibrant alloys and energetic alloys simultaneously. So this guy he's currently draining. The reason I wanted to show you this is because this one block is pretty much replacing this entire system I had before, you know, where I had Steve's Factory Manager, you know, monitoring how much was in an energy cell based on a comparator redstone signal, and then sending a redstone signal to some of the dynamos to shut them off, and it was kind of a mess. This one block from Ender.io completely, totally, and utterly destroys that system. And I could have used this before, but I just didn't feel the need to. I just had some Steve's Factory Manager blocks lying around, so I did that quick. But what this does is it monitors how much power you have in your entire system. Even if I put some more like vibrant capacitor banks or anything down here, it monitors like how much energy you have stored. I believe it does have to be capacitor banks though, because those are also Ender.io, so it can kind of work with that. But the cool thing about it is if you click this redstone tab here, you can have it have engine control, which basically controls, you know, engines, or at least that's what it's meant to do. And basically it emits a redstone signal when it's less than 50% full. I set these values. So when it dips under 50, it will emit a signal, and it will stop once it's at 90%. And then it'll wait until it gets back down to 50 and start over and emit the signal. So this is draining. I have a redstone, insulated redstone conduit hooked up. I have it going underneath the floor in here. Let me just open that up. And I have that going to our reactor redstone part, which just, I have it set to toggle the reactor on and off. If the redstone signal's on, reactor's on. Redstone signal off, reactor off. So that corresponds perfectly with what our power monitor is set up to do. So this will pretty much keep our reactor, you know, well monitored. Turn it on when it's, you know, when we're about half energy, and it'll get us up to 90 and then stop it again. So yeah, it's pretty cool. just thought I'd show you guys that, but I'll be back in just a minute. Alright guys, so finishing up the episode here, I thought we'd talk a little bit about P2P with applied energistics. P2P is a tough, okay, it's an easy concept to get your head around, but to figure out applications for it can be a bit trickier, and there's some very, very, very advanced stuff that I'm a little bit clueless on. I know how to use P2P, and I do use it for some things, but some people just go crazy with it, and that's kind of where I draw the line. So I'll show you guys how I'm going to use it right here and how I'll use it in some other places, and then maybe you guys can think up some cool things to do with it. So P2P basically transmits a variety of things from one place to another with applied energistics cables. So it can be fluids, it can be energy. In fact, if you search P2P, you should come up with everything. EU, items, light even, fluids, redstone signals, RF. But it can also transmit ME or channels, or whatever you want to call it, across the same kind of cables. So that sounds kind of weird, but I'll show you an application for it right now. What I want to have happen is be able to access all this wool and all this sugarcane from my applied energistics system without clogging it up, with all of this sugarcane or all of this wool, because it's eventually going to get to be a lot. And there keeps spawning pigs in here. Not a fan. There you go. Okay. So this is how I kind of use it. So what we have here, why is there redstone in here? There should not be redstone there. What we have here is we need to get our applied energistics system over here, but I don't want to have to run. This is kind of a bad example. I'll show you guys a better example of this later when we actually do use it. But I need to get our applied energistics system over here, and there might be more stuff over here eventually. Like I'll probably have, more different kinds of farms over here and a whole bunch of other stuff that I might want, storage buses and all sorts of different kinds of things over here for import buses, export buses, interfaces, all that kind of stuff. So instead of having to run, let's say, a dense cable to get 32 channels all the way over there, we're going to use P2P to do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is plop a dense cable right there, and I'm going to put my P2P tunnel going into it. So this cable is going into this P2P tunnel here, and I think I actually want to move this a bit. Let's try going this way. I like the look of it going this way. Okay. So we could hook this P2P tunnel up straight to the ME controller, but I kind of want this dense cable here just so I can keep an eye on how many channels are being used. Not a whole lot of benefits from putting the P2P tunnel right on the controller. And another thing is that I'll probably want to expand this into like a 2x2 structure, so then we can just remove the cable and the P2P tunnel will be straight to the controller eventually. So now we need to make a separate line. So I think I'm gonna go down this way, and as a matter of fact, yeah, I'm gonna come down this way right here, and I think I'm okay with just using all smart cable. I think I'm okay with that. We're gonna run this all the way down. We're gonna need to get right here, and we're gonna get it right there. So this is a pretty easy connect here. I'm gonna run this straight down this way. Oop, not quite. Where does this run to? I've got an interface right there that I don't want it connecting to. So, I'm gonna grab a cable anchor. I'm just gonna grab a few of these guys. Putting that on there just ensures that it will not connect to the cable. So I'll bring this down, bring this over, and there we go, we've got a connection. So we have this line, right? And right now it's not connected to anything. The very first thing you're going to want to do with this is make sure it has power. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, how do I want to power this? I might power it off this interface actually. It's actually pretty handy because I can just put a quartz fiber cable there, and that should be able to, where'd I go? It should be able to give this power, right? Perfect. So these quartz fibers are kind of useful in the fact that they let power transfer over to the other cables, but no data. So this is, consider it completely separate from our ME system, right? All this is doing is providing power to it. So this can't see anything. Like if I put, say, my crafting terminal down here, it wouldn't see any of the items. It's totally separate. It's its own system. It's called a sub-network, pretty much. So that was the first step. Make sure it has power. And then I'm also going to come over here and get my P2P drive out. And this seems like a good a spot as any. It's not how I want it placed though. That's how I want it placed. And we'll put the smart cable there. Okay. So what's happening here? There is 32 lines of data going into this P2P channel. That data, those 32 channels, are being carried across this cable, right? And it's using 2 channels because of the P2P connections on both ends. So for every connection, you use a channel. So it's carrying the 32 open channels along here, all the way over here, and the 32 channels, or 32 available channels, I should say. Not all 32 are obviously coming across, since this is a smart cable. I can only hold 8. So 8 of those 32 channels are coming out of here, or are available to use. Actually, all 32 are available to use out of this P2P tunnel. So what that means is, if I put a dense cable coming out of here, or something like that, then you could, you know, branch off of that dense cable and, you know, connect 32 things over here. So you're basically, it's kind of like running dense cable all the way along, but you don't have to spend that much to do so. So there's one last step here to get this end of the cable over here actually working, and that's connecting the P2P tunnel. So what you have to do is shift right click on one of the P2P tunnels to save the settings, and you just regular right click on another one to load it, and you can see it booted up there. It's online now, and now this cable is an extension of this. So that cable, pretend it's like a warp pipe, and that cable is going into there, and it warps over here and comes out on this end. And what this allows us to do is do this in other places. Like, say I wanted some, you know, applied energistics over my blood magic area, which I probably will. It'd be nice to have like a terminal over there or something. What we can do is take this line, run it over there, and say we have a P2P, you know, tunnel right here. That allows us to access all those channels, you know, all 32 channels, or at least the ones we're not using, over there without, you know, having to run a dense cable all the way over there. So that's really cool. I might even replace this dense cable with a P2P system. I'm just not sure if it's quite worth it for where it's at. I could save quite a few. We might actually do that. Yeah, that'd be a nice project. We could do that too. So we're going to replace some of this dense cable with, you know, P2P system. So that'll be cool. Actually, yeah, that'll work out. we'll do that. But to finish this part off over here, I've got storage buses, which basically act like, how should I say this? It lets your ME system view the inventory of non-ME stuff. So it lets it view this inventory even though the items themselves are not in, let's say, you know, the ME drive. So the first thing I actually want to do is take out all the white wool from here and go store it over here. So all of our wool's in there. And another thing I want to make sure to do is configure it to store wool in this cache, just in case I ever empty it out. I want to make sure nothing else, you know, gets stored in there. And finally, what we want to do is consider the priority, right? So the priority on my hard drives is 0. So anything above 0, or this is 1, this is 0. So I'm prioritizing this first hard drive before it puts anything in this hard drive, just to make sure it fills up evenly. So anything above 1, it will try to store in before it tries to store it in the ME drive. So what we're going to do over here is probably set this to something like, I don't know, 10. So now that's set to 10. Basically when I put wool in to the system, say I've like got it in my inventory and I put it in, it will prioritize putting wool in this cache before it puts it in the drives. So we're not wasting space on our drives, we can just store it in here. So we can hook that guy up. There we go. And you should come on. So there's one channel there. The storage bus is using a channel. Notice this cable is still only using 2 because it's still, this cable only sees that P2P and that P2P. It doesn't see, you know, that storage bus I just put on there. And then over here on the 32, on this dense cable, is only one channel being used. So that's, you guys can kind of hopefully see where that I'm going with this. We're going to do this the same. Sugarcane, so only sugarcane will be stored in here. We want it bidirectional, so it can both pull out sugarcane and put in. And again, a priority of about 10, we'll say. We'll connect that guy up. This should jump up to 1. So this cable in total is using 2 for both of the storage buses. Still, this cable only using 2 channels because of the 2 P2P. And then this dense cable has jumped up to 2. So it's hard to kind of tell with just these 2, but if I had a bunch of different, you know, storage buses and interfaces and all kinds of things over here, it would quickly become apparent why you might want a P2P system, like hopefully we're going to do here. So I'm going to kind of cut this off for a minute. In fact, I'm going to do something a little crazy, except we're not so crazy. We're going to kind of upgrade this system we already have over here. We're going to use that P2P line we just set down, right? Okay, so this might get a little bit more interesting. Let's craft us a cup just in case we need it. Thank you, villager, for that lovely emerald. I guess I didn't teach it how to craft it. Oh wait, it can't craft anything, that's right. It can't see the crafting right now. Well, this should do. Okay, so we have 32 channels going in there. This needs a channel. That needs a channel. This just needs power. So what I'm going to do for this one is connect it directly to that. So that should give it power, no problem, right? And actually, well, let's see. Might come into a little bit of a problem, but we shouldn't be too bad. And then these guys also need one channel each. So I'm gonna connect these guys up. Yikes. Hopefully I have the stuff to make some smart cables. Actually, that should be up and running, so I should be able to see the wool. We've got 4. Let's see if we can make a few more. Oops, we need to make cover cables. Man, this manual crafting is really messing me up. Okay. And now for the smart. There we go. That should help us out a bit. Okay, so continuing on here. Right. Okay. So these guys, I think I'm gonna connect like so. And I'm going to have a P2P. I don't like the look of that actually. Well, I'm gonna kind of have to deal with it. I'm gonna have a P2P coming out of there. This going into there, and we're gonna load the settings on this guy. Looks good. So there's more channels coming out that way for those guys. And I can actually, I'm gonna come right over here too with that. The only one left is this. I'll do that, and I'll come out with another P2P right there. Oops, I don't want to save settings. I want to save there, load there. Perfect. I think I did that on the other one too accidentally. Make sure this is load settings. There's that. So that guy has it. The only thing that's not going to work about this is this won't have power. Right? Is that what I'm getting at? I think so. I get a little bit confused sometimes. We're going to replace this with an anchor, this with a smart cable, and okay. Gonna grab some of these guys just for the time being. That's not what I want to do. I'm going to take one of these quartz fibers, come off of there, and connect that guy into there. Perfect. Okay, that's what I wanted to see. So now we're using 4 channels, one for each of the P2P connections, but we're using 11 channels on this dense cable. So basically 32 channels are going into this one. One's coming out here going into that interface, which I kind of want to switch up. That's kind of a waste of a P2P. Generally you want at least more than one, because that P2P tunnel takes up a very valuable channel on this cable, and so you want to try to have as much information going into one P2P as possible. So that's one. Where else? There's coming into this one. Wow, a full 8. I suppose 6 from this interface, and then 2 on each of these crafting units. So that's something we might have to look out for. If there's a full 8, I might. What I'm actually going to do, swap this out. This is a good example of where some dense cable will come in handy. So in fact, I'm even going to take this one step further. Okay, so that's better. So this is using 1, that's using 6, and here's another 2 more. But you can see now, in some ways it makes it cleaner. I kind of goofed it up with my placement of things. We might optimize this in the future. But I think that's going to be it for now. Next episode, we'll come back and we're going to, I think we're going to start into Thaumcraft, if I'm not mistaken. I like to do it kind of late game just because it's nice to have all sorts of different materials to work with and automation and those kinds of things. So we've got blood magic pretty much maxed out. We can pretty much do anything with blood magic that we want to, which is going to be good for Thaumcraft. Show you guys some neat things to do with that. might want to note that I got the next level of Blood Orb. I made a ton of different augmented capacity runes and stuff, and replaced out a lot of my speed runes so that I could make that. So now I've got that guy. Haven't done much else that you guys haven't seen. I did set up this deep storage unit with the same kind of storage bus technique I showed you guys. I put this priority on like 2,000 because I wanted to make sure my stone goes in here. This deep storage unit I think can store something along the lines of 2 billion items. They're kind of a pain in the butt to make, but just so you guys know, my stone, now I won't have the trash can anymore. I removed that from the filter from the quarry, which I don't have running at the moment, but just know that I'm not going to be deleting my stone anymore. I'm just going to be saving it up just in case I ever need, you know, a bunch of stone for anything. But that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you guys learned something about applied energistics, and maybe it'll become clear to you when we go into Thaumcraft and stuff, and we need to bring our channels, you know, further and further away, and have more and more items, you know, to be stored on the other ends. So I'll probably, between this episode and next, I'll build out a little starting platform for us for Thaumcraft, and hopefully we can have some fun with it. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.